there. I have been in movie screenings where 10 minutes into a movie, the person next to me has whipped out his phone and has started tweeting about how bad a movie is. And if people decide that this is a film that I'm going to rip apart, that's God help the filmmaker, because that's going to happen. I think it was a difficult transition. I think it's only of late that I've eased up in front of the camera. If you're going to read a review of mine, you're giving me probably 5 minutes of your life to read that review. 5 minutes that you will never get back. I take that very seriously. I want to fill those 5 minutes with uh, engaging stuff.
Have you ever wondered, about this craziness about the associated industries around, this whole film industry? So, have you wondered why there is so much adulation, accolades, and even attention for, a professional reviewer? That's one part of the question. And the second part of the question is, you probably don't fit into that stereotypical image of a Tamil cinema reviewer. From the perspective of the background, here, education and training, and if I can call it Peter English, you write flowery essays. So are you really surprised where you are now?
See, I look at it as, I don't look at it as Tamil film reviews. I think, I think I'm somebody who communicates, who writes about Southern films for a larger audience. There's already this big, supply happening of Tamil reviews for the Tamil population, or Telugu reviews for the Telugu population, or Marathi reviews for the Marathi population. But I think as films go international, as we have OTT platforms and all that, I think it becomes necessary to talk about Indian films in English, because that's the common language even within India and without. So after I joined Film Companion, I started writing about Malayalam films, and so many people from Bombay say that they learn about these films from my writings, because otherwise they wouldn't know that these films exist. Of course, now there are, writing, not my writings only, but there are people who write about all these films in English. So I think there is a genuine need for that, and I didn't create this need because already people were writing about Tamil films in English. There was the Hindu, there was the Express, there were a couple of other places that they were doing that, and I think I really just told myself that, why should I write movies for other people? Why can't other people read what I thought about it? That's really the only difference, I think, in the way I approach people, not the language so much as the attitude, because I never subscribe to the idea of one person being a recommender for something like a movie or a book or like anything, like a piece of music, because I have never been convinced by that. Some of my favorite films nobody else likes. Some movies that others like, I might not like. It's not like an appliance, like a refrigerator you buy at Amazon, where if I buy it and I find that it checks all the boxes and it uses electricity well, and it's highly likely that the same refrigerator, if you buy it, it's going to fulfill the same, it's going to do the same things. That's not how art works. So I've never found this whole star rating or thing very useful. So I think that's what, so in a way, I guess all these things that you said, hopefully in a positive way, this education background and all that, hopefully that kind of gave me the confidence that there existed a population out there that would want to read something like this. And I guess that's been proved right. So,
Okay. The part of the first question is this, right? So when Kumar and I started, we wanted it to be a personal conversation. So we could express what we thought about a movie
right.
with some sort of liberty. That, still would have existed when you were in the blog format. But when you went mainstream, so did you feel compelled to, sort of tone down your opinions about a particular movie? That's where I thought about the attention and the adoration part of this whole process.
Uh, See, I don't know. I think if you're calling me on this show, it's also because you guys are somewhat like me. A large portion of the Tamil movie watching population probably doesn't even know I exist. They don't know about me or read my reviews. Now that I'm on video, maybe some of them are watching it, but it's like the attention comes because I think you make uh, people some people, I guess, begin to stand out because of the things that they do. It's always difficult to predict how, you, uh, it's like basically trying to predict why somebody becomes a star and somebody else doesn't. Something about their work clicks with the readers. And I mean, I can't really, that's really for the readers to say, because I was very, very firm that this is the type of review that I wanted to do. And we have enough creators here who are working, because one of my big passions has been mainstream cinema, and I've always wondered, why aren't we talking about the great things, like even when you talk about a movie like Udari Pukal, or any of Balchandra's films, why is it always so superficial? Why is it just so, oh, nalla kadar, like it's a good story, or it's like a good moral or something like that? I mean, there are so many. Why isn't anybody talking about the shots, the cinematography, the way something is staged, the cinematic aspects of it, right? It's like everybody usually talks about it like they're talking about like a novel or something, like a story, like there's nothing beyond that. But there were people using the medium, and I felt very strongly that needed to be discussed. Come to the mainstream, because mainstream cinema is what all of us consume. What I watch at Cannes and Venice and all these film festivals is like 1.1% of people maybe end up watching, like 2-3 years after those films are released or whatever. They probably torrent them, or wait for them to come. I think now Portrait of a Lady on Fire is on one of the OTT platforms. So some movies do end up like that, but most of them disappear. So the mainstream cinema is what we watch. So for me, I wanted to be a chronicler of mainstream cinema. That's always been a big passion of mine, because I've always felt that even when it comes to songs, there are so many traditions that we have that haven't been uh, documented properly. And I'm not saying that I'm doing it a great job of it or whatever, but I'm just saying that the thing that the respect given to mainstream cinema that I found in foreign reviewers like American film critics or British film critics, I didn't find that in India. They at best looked at it as, not bad, something, like it was like something to be tolerated. Whereas, when they'd go to like an English film and rave about it, and it would be like there would be no attempt to understand the culture in which this was made, the audience for whom it was made, nothing. And I've always found that a little problematic, because you can't evaluate Carnatic music the way you evaluate Western classical music. They are two very different dance forms, art forms. So, so that was my real impetus, because I read a lot of that kind of criticism from the West. And I was like, why isn't anybody doing this here? Can I do this? Is it possible for me to start writing like this? That really was what got me going.
We are in continuation with the previous question. I would just want to ask you about democratization of movie reviews. Earlier, only probably people associated with the movie industry or magazines would talk about movies, or we would talk about it at home. There was no concept of, say, a movie reviewer before you, or Rajiv Masan, who came into limelight, Anupama Chopra maybe, who came into limelight through news channels or whatever medium, or through blogs. But now people like us are able to come on YouTube or podcast and talk about it. So has that diluted it in any way, or has it helped it, or what is your view on this whole, democratization?
So first of all, you have to define what a movie review is, right? Like 90% of the people who read my reviews are probably going to think, oh my God, this is so long and so boring and so dense, I don't want to read it. So like who's like I know that I'm not trivializing my audience. I'm saying that yes, I do have an audience, I do have a following, but it's a very small niche following, right? But what are the majority looking for? They're looking for word of mouth recommendations to watch a movie. They don't care how it's lit, or what how the scene is staged or whatever it is. They're like, should I go watch this movie? I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. Should I go watch this film? I cater to probably the people who watch the film because they want to watch, oh, it's this director's film, so I'm going to watch it. I probably cater to that audience. Uh, the rest of the audience, I think this democratization has really helped because it's taken away the burden of recommendation from the critic. I no longer have to even try to, at least earlier, I would kind of try to make it seem that, even within my subjectivity, I would try to say, well, this is like something is good or excellent or something like that. I don't have to do that anymore because uh, what I was talking about the Amazon reviews earlier, that's happening on social media. So if everybody bashes a film, people know that they don't want to go watch it. If everybody praises a film, they know that they want to watch it. So that's actually become a good thing. And I think it's really good that this democratization has happened in every form because, like TikTok, right? I don't know what the current, whether it's banned or not yet banned. I don't know what is happening right now. But what I'm saying is, it gave so many people the chance to express their artistic abilities. When I say artistic, I don't necessarily mean one kind of art, right? Somebody might have been great at doing cartwheels. Somebody might have been terrific at non-stop burping. I don't know, but entertainment can come in many kind of forms. In a movie, when you see a slapstick kind of thing, it's not always classy, right? It's like there are some very low forms of humor that we love watching because it's so funny and it's so physical, and it's like it gets us the primal parts of us that is not sophisticated. It gets us laughing. I think it's amazing that TikTok enabled that, and I think similarly, it's amazing that so many people have been empowered by social media to they don't have to get a job in media houses. They can just go out there and put out an opinion. Is it a fair opinion, which is what some people ask in the film industry? It's like, what qualifications do you have? I don't know, because most people don't really, for them, they develop followings of their own based on their personalities. And if you are looking for fairness, then this is probably not any industry which is out there in the open like that, like a very visible industry. There's no such thing as fairness. So you just have to accept it and move
on. Just following up on that question, BR, how much of a pull or how much of an influence do current social media reviewers or influencers have on a movie's performance? Because in between there was even a talk that people should review a movie for 3 days after release. I mean, I was assuming that was for reviewers like you or for magazines or news channels. But otherwise, how much of an influence do you think the actual social media influencers have?
Quite a bit. See, because again, most people look for word of mouth, and word of mouth spreads like wildfire on social media. I have been in movie screenings where 10 minutes into a movie, the person next to me has whipped out his phone and has started tweeting about how bad a movie is. You can't help watching it, seeing it, because the phones now are quite big, and when the light really fills the thing. So social media plays a huge role in how a film is perceived. And if people decide that this is a film that I'm going to rip apart, that's God help the filmmaker, because that's going to happen. Hopefully where people like us step in is because we are not interested in either, like, we're not interested in that whole ripping apart of a movie. That's not what you want to do. You want to talk about the movie, and unless it's really, really bad, yeah, maybe you'll have some fun just tearing it apart. But otherwise, you're just trying to see what works, what doesn't. You're trying to, see what could have been the journey of the film as it was made, and trying to see whether it worked or not. So I think that moderate, temperate thing becomes easier for us because there are other people taking care of the recommendation aspects of a film. But one thing I must say is that it's very nice to see numbers happening, because we are not an especially we are not a very reader friendly country. So when you look at the numbers, and digital, you get to know the numbers that reviews are doing. These are good numbers we get at Film Companions. So I think yeah, maybe the reading population is still kind of hanging around there, reading some of our stuff.
I was not very happy when I heard that BR would migrate from the blog medium or the print medium to the audiovisual medium. Okay, it's the charm of reading a book versus watching a movie. But looks like
Or an audiobook. Yeah, yeah.
or an audiobook. But looks like you have taken very well to the new medium as well. So I'm not complaining anymore. But how was the transition from your end?
Uh, I think it was a difficult transition. I think it's only of late that I've eased up in front of the camera, so to speak. It takes a while because uh, uh, to be fluent, in front of like when people are watching you, it's not that easy. At least, like for me, I mean, I'm sure there are people for whom it comes very easily. But I think that has also helped me because people start now today. A lot of people who watch me and didn't know about me earlier, they've started reading me, and the audience has expanded in a way because I think I'd already gotten a good reading audience through the writing alone. But now I've gotten like more audience because of these videos. And the transition has been, see, I would say that everybody today, anybody who wants to be taken seriously, has to be on video. When I mean taken seriously, what I mean is it doesn't mean, see, my video reviews are basically like appetizers, right? You cannot, it's like a 2-3 minute condensation of what I write in the review, but that's still necessary. That's almost like there are people who say, uh, I like to read a review after I watch a film. So I watch the video review, get a general sense of what you're saying, go watch the film, and then come and read the text review. So it works in a very strange kind of symbiosis keeps happening. But I'm not complaining because, even at a personal level, I think, see, I've been with the Express for 6 years and Hindu for 6 years. I think sometimes, you look for a little bit of change. And when digital happens, I remember like my blog was filled with, oh my God, BR, how could you do this? And I'm like, it was almost like I'd done something personal to them. And I was like, dude, it's just a job change. Deal with it. It's not some, I'm not really migrating to Siberia or something like that, But the way people reacted really took me by surprise. And I think they had associated digital with maybe gimmickiness. I don't know what. I don't know how they think, but one of the real pleasures for me going digital has been doing interviews. I think that has been really, really interesting because I always liked interviewing people, in print, and this has been a kind of an extension of that. So that has been a very, very useful thing for me, a very interesting thing for me, and it really keeps me going. Yeah.
But now that you're in Film Companion and doing a lot of this video stuff, it's really all the innovative stuff you're doing is really great. Like you're doing different things. Like you had run this Ask BR series on a specific actor or the anniversary of a movie or a specific movie that's been a cult movie. Then you had this flashback series. I clearly remember. So this Shankarabharanam movie, you had done a flashback. So Shankarabharanam was on my watch list for a while. But after watching that video, I didn't think that I would want to watch the movie because the themes and the acting, the camera work, everything was captured so beautifully. Then I think you also did something called a Mean Comments reaction recently. So and then there's obviously the round table, right? So how do these ideas come out? Like, what is the thought process and how do you execute it?
I think it's just basically try to make things interesting for people. That's always been what I try to do in writing, because I think one of the biggest uh, things that you get from a reader is their time. If you're going to read a review of mine, you're giving me probably 5 minutes of your life to read that review. 5 minutes that you will never get back. And I'm not going morbid with this. I'm just trying to say something. So what I'm saying is I take that very seriously. I want to fill those 5 minutes with engaging stuff. that you don't feel that you wasted those 5 minutes coming to me. Of course, it doesn't always work out that way, but that's what I try to do. That if I analyze something, it should be serious. What I mean by serious is I should really I should not say acting is good. I should say the acting is good because, and take out maybe one particular scene and point out why it is good, so that you get an insight about why I think the acting is good. Otherwise, that statement has no meaning. That if I just say somebody's acting is good. So I really value the time that somebody goes, and it in reverse. Like when I'm spending X amount of time on a book, and if the author is boring, if I'm spending X amount of time on a piece of music or whatever it is, I want some value for that time I'm spending. And for me, that's always been a principle that I've learned, that try to engage them. You can't always entertain the reader, but at least you should try to engage the reader so that they feel that they've gotten value for the time that they spend. And that leads to these formats also, because you want to keep engaging them in different ways, because some people who read my text reviews might find the video reviews very banal. Some people who read who don't like reading reviews or watching reviews, they might be interested in an Ask BR kind of Q&A kind of format. So it just depends. The flashback, thank you so much for mentioning that, because those take a lot of work. Me, I'm an editor. We sit and it takes a lot of time to do those videos. But they don't really do all that well in terms of views. I mean, they do well. I mean, I'm not saying they do badly, but compared to the other stuff, they don't do all that well. So you have to kind of try to engage different, like let's say Film Companion is like a studio. I have to put out an Avengers movie for the mass. I have to put out like something else for the, like different types of movies. I have to put out this kind of stuff, that kind of stuff, so that I try to cover an audience base as much as possible. So we keep trying formats, and the lovely thing about digital is if one particular format doesn't work, you can drop it. Nobody's like, you do 2-3 episodes of something, and if it doesn't work, you can ditch it and keep going on. You don't need to, you're not committed to it, is what it means.
A couple of questions back, you mentioned that you loved doing your interviews. So we've been watching some of these interviews, and they're gold, I have to tell you. Especially the most recent one that I watched, which was Mari Selvaraj, right? Part 1 and part 2, they were like brilliant. So Pariyerum Perumal, watching that and then listening to Mari Selvaraj about his experiences, how everything came about, was just fantastic. So so these interviews have such a fluidity to them. So I mean, obviously there is editing and all of that stuff. So how are these interviews? How do you prepare for these interviews? How do you set up? How do you run it? Very interested to know, and excited to know how that goes about.
See, like let's say you're a mathematician, right? If you belong to a newspaper. Let's say a famous Srinivas Ramanujan is visiting town. They will if he needs to be interviewed, the newspaper will only send a person who has studied that field or who knows that field. But when it comes to movies, if an actor is visiting, and if X journalist is not available, they'll send Y. If Y is not available, they'll send Z. It becomes an interchangeable. What I'm trying to say is that, first of all, you have to have movies as a specialization. That thing should be in your head. That means that you have a set of questions prepared, but if that person is taking you somewhere, you should have enough in you that will take you over there. So unconsciously, rather without my knowing it, from the age of, 15 or 16, I've been filling myself up with all these things because I had no idea I was going to become a film critic. I was just so interested in this that I would read everything from Chidanand Dasgupta to this to that to, I'd be watching Benegal, I'd be watching K. Balchandar, I'd be watching everything. So all that inadvertently, just seeped into me. And so I think what I'm trying to say is that half of doing a good interview is just being there and being alive to the conversation and being interested in the conversation enough to kind of let this person know that your interest is coming through. And once they see that interest, right, all people are looking for, in my experience, all people that are looking for is to know that this other person is interested in what they have to say. And once that chemistry, if that's the word for it, is established, it really becomes easy. Which is not to say that you don't prepare or whatever it is, but that's really the secondary part. That's the physical part which anybody would do. I would do that for a print interview. I would do that for anything. I will, before watching a movie, I might just go to Wiki and check out what has this director, what did they do last, or that kind of stuff. But the preparation is important. I don't deny that. But the idea is to keep filling yourself up over the years with all kinds of movie related information, so that when this person takes you on this journey, you are there. Because you cannot otherwise interject with the right things. You cannot respond with the, oh yeah, that shot right there, that, yeah, I remember now. That kind of stuff won't happen otherwise. You can't dream it up on the spot. You have to know that. And uh, that's really what I would say. I know I'm not giving you a clear process as such, but that's really how I see it.
Hello everyone, thank you for watching part 1 of our interview with Bharadwaj Rangan. We will soon be uploading part 2 of the interview in the same channel. Stay tuned for further updates and have a great day. Bye.